19 months ago, my life unraveled when my affair with our neighbor Steve was exposed, shattering the trust of my husband Jim. I'm Amy, 32 years old, and Jim, 39, now recoils at the mere thought of my touch, his faith in me utterly destroyed. I'm not the wounded party here. Jim, our two boys, aged 9 and 11, and my parents bear the crushing weight of my betrayal. I'm overwhelmed with remorse and desperate for guidance. Has anyone else navigated such a painful situation? My affair with Steve, 27, a married father of three, began a little over 2 years ago, spanning 5 months with only 4 physical encounters. I know it sounds unbelievable, but I swear it's the truth. To address the questions likely swirling in your mind, was my marriage troubled? Did I stop loving Jim? Was I dissatisfied? The answer is a resolute no to all. I was entirely content, fulfilled emotionally, mentally, and physically by Jim, who embodied everything I ever dreamed of in a partner. My attraction to Steve was a reckless echo of my first romantic experience at 18, a wild, primal urge that overpowered my better judgment. Let me take you back to understand why I faltered. In high school, I dated 4 boys casually, sharing nothing more than quick kisses at the end of dates, viewing them as friends since we'd grown up together in our small town. Their names, Tom, Jake, Ethan, and Ryan, still linger in my memory, each a fleeting chapter of my youth. We'd go to movies, share milkshakes at the diner, or hang out at school dances, but my heart remained untouched, my focus on grades and college dreams. One summer day, I was invited to a barbecue at my friend Lisa's parents' house, a sprawling event with neighbors, relatives, and the smell of grilled burgers filling the air. That's where I met Charles, Lisa's 20-year-old cousin, who just finished his sophomore year at college. From the moment our eyes locked across the crowded backyard, I felt a jolt, an inexplicable pull that made my heart race. He was tall, with a confident smile and eyes that seemed to see right through me. I was 18, on the cusp of my senior year, and Charles was unlike anyone I'd ever met. We started talking near the picnic tables, our conversation flowing effortlessly. Music, movies, dreams of escaping our small town. When he had to leave for his part-time job at a local warehouse, we exchanged numbers, my hands trembling as I typed his into my phone. The next evening, a Sunday, we met at a quaint ice cream shop downtown. We ordered chocolate sundaes, sat on a bench by the park, and talked for hours, the world fading away. As dusk settled, we walked along a quiet path, and in a spontaneous moment, he leaned in and we kissed. It was electric, a rush that set my nerves alight. He invited me to his apartment, a small studio near the college campus, and there, I had my first intimate experience. Something about Charles ignited a passion I couldn't articulate, a subconscious drive that overwhelmed me. I felt alive, desired, and reckless in a way I'd never known. But beyond the physical, we were mismatched. Charles was impulsive, uninterested in my love for literature or my plans to study psychology. After 11 months, the passion waned, and I ended it, my heart bruised but wiser. A year later, I met Jim at a college mixer, and he was everything Charles wasn't. Steady, kind, ambitious. He listened when I spoke, shared my values, and made me feel safe. We married within a year, and for 13 years, our marriage was a tapestry of joy, woven with the laughter of our 2 boys, who inherited Jim's warmth and curiosity. Then Steve entered our lives, unraveling everything. Steve and his wife, Marcia, moved into our neighborhood 2.5 years ago, the youngest couple in a community of mostly 60-year-olds. Jim and I, the second youngest, welcomed them warmly, as did the rest of the neighborhood. They were invited to a summer picnic at the community park, where families gathered with blankets, coolers, and kids running wild. Steve and I noticed each other there, our eyes meeting briefly as he helped Marcia set up their picnic spot. The spark was familiar, a haunting echo of my encounter with Charles at that long-ago barbecue. I brushed it off, focusing on my boys chasing frisbees and Jim grilling hot dogs. Weeks later, Jim and I visited the car dealership where Steve worked in finance, shopping for a new SUV to replace our aging minivan. When Jim realized Steve was there, they hit it off, talking about football and neighborhood gossip. Steve ensured we got a fantastic deal, negotiating a lower price and favorable financing terms. During the closing process, Steve and I exchanged subtle glances. Nothing overt, just a fleeting acknowledgement of that spark from the picnic. Jim, engrossed in paperwork, didn't notice. A few days later, I returned to the dealership alone to pick up mud flaps for the SUV. Steve greeted me in the lounge, his smile disarming, and invited me to his office to discuss additional financing details. The conversation quickly turned personal. He confessed he'd felt something at the picnic and couldn't stop thinking about me. My heart pounded as I admitted I felt it too, but I stressed it was wrong. We were both married, with families. He didn't care about the consequences, his voice low and insistent, and in that moment, my resolve crumbled. The next morning, with our kids at school and Jim at his engineering job, I went to Steve's house. Marcia, a licensed practical nurse, was at the hospital. We gave in to temptation, the thrill heightened by the forbidden nature of it all. Over the 5-month affair, we were intimate only 4 times. No love, just a physical rush that paled in comparison to what I shared with Jim. I loved Jim deeply. Steve loved Marcia. As a stay-at-home mom for 11 years, raising our boys and managing our home, I craved the attention of this younger, charismatic man. I foolishly believed I could compartmentalize this secret adventure, preserving my perfect marriage. That illusion shattered 19 months ago on a Thursday morning. Marcia's mother, visiting from out of town, walked into Steve's bedroom and caught us mid-act. Her screams pierced the air as she lunged at Steve, scratching his face and leaving a deep gash. She turned on me, landing a hard blow to my jaw and yanking out 2 handfuls of my hair. I scrambled to gather my clothes, fleeing the house in a daze, the reality of my actions crashing down. My 13-year marriage, once a beacon of love and stability, was fractured, perhaps beyond repair. At home, I sat frozen, staring at the living room walls, the ticking of the clock amplifying my dread. How could I tell Jim? I called him, leaving an urgent voicemail, then texted, but got no response. Minutes later, Marcia and her mother appeared on my front porch, pounding on the door and bay windows, screaming for me to face them. Terrified and humiliated, I hid behind the couch, grateful the boys were at school. After they left, I collapsed, sobbing, and fell asleep on the couch. The sound of Jim's car in the driveway jolted me awake. I rushed to the bathroom to freshen up, splashing water on my face, but he didn't enter the house. Through the window, I watched him walk down the street to Steve and Marcia's house, his shoulders tense. He stayed there for 3 hours, each minute stretching into eternity. When he returned, I ran to him, arms outstretched, but he pushed me away, his eyes cold. I stammered apologies, but he cut me off, saying they weren't accepted and demanding I leave. I fell to the floor crying, begging to stay, but he was unmoved. He called my mother, explained my betrayal in a voice devoid of emotion, and asked her to pick me up. She arrived, apologized to Jim on my behalf, and helped me pack a suitcase. I left, tears streaming, asking what he'd tell the boys. He said he'd handle it, his tone final. That night, I called Jim from my parents' house, shocked when he answered. He said only hello, then fell silent. I identified myself, apologized profusely, and vowed never to repeat my mistake, promising to spend my life making amends. He asked if I had more to say, his voice flat. I asked about his feelings, and he said he knew what he felt, which brought me to tears. He insisted I stay at my parents' for 2 weeks, a temporary exile I reluctantly accepted. I asked when I'd see him and the boys, desperate for connection. He didn't want to see me, but agreed to brief nightly calls at 9. The first call was excruciating. I said, "I love you," and he hung up without a word. The next night followed the same script. My apologies met with silence until he dropped a devastating blow. He wanted a divorce. He was willing to lose half his hard-earned assets or give me everything if I vanished from his and the boys' lives. I broke down, begging for another chance, insisting he didn't mean it, but he affirmed his resolve. The call ended, and I cried through the night, my mind racing for a way to save our marriage. I devised a plan to offer a postnuptial agreement so favorable he couldn't refuse, a desperate bid to prove my love. While Jim met with his divorce attorney, I consulted 4 lawyers, searching for one skilled in postnuptial agreements. I found an expert willing to draft a lopsided contract that favored Jim entirely. It stipulated that if we stayed married and lived together for 30 months, Jim would keep nearly all our marital assets. If I was unfaithful again, I'd lose all claims, receiving no alimony or child support. The agreement required me to secure a full-time job within 6 months and contribute to household expenses. It also allowed Jim to see other women, though I knew his integrity would prevent it. Jim's divorce papers arrived at my parents' house 11 days later, but I had him served with the postnuptial agreement first. That night we spoke, and he was surprised by the terms, his voice softening for the first time in weeks, hinting at the caring man I'd married. He accepted the agreement but added a clause, no requirement for intimacy or cohabitation during our marriage. I was heartbroken but agreed, clinging to the hope that time would heal us. 17.5 months into this second marriage, as I call it, our relationship is a hollow shell. We're housemates, not lovers, raising our boys under one roof. I'm grateful for the second chance, but this isn't a marriage. It's a fragile coexistence, a shadow of what we had. Jim shows no affection, not a single hug or kiss, and keeps his distance. His body language a constant rebuke. Occasionally, I steal a quick hug before he can react, but his discomfort is palpable, so I rarely try. He requires monthly at-home STD tests, a humiliating ritual that underscores my betrayal. Since the affair, Jim refuses to be seen with me in public, even at family gatherings. When our boys have soccer or baseball games, we alternate attendance, and if I'm there, Jim stands on the sidelines with other fathers, pretending I don't exist. The only time we're together is on family vacations, which we take frequently to maintain normalcy for the boys. Jim books adjoining rooms with 2 queen beds each. The boys in one, us in the other, sleeping separately. These trips are bittersweet. They're the closest we get, and I've nearly reached him, sensing fleeting moments of warmth. I suggested moving to escape the neighborhood's judgment, the whispers and sidelong glances that follow me. Jim refused, saying he'll only relocate for a job promotion. Otherwise, he's staying until the boys finish high school. The boys also want to stay. Their friends, including Marcia's kids, living nearby. Jim's friends, the neighborhood men, are his refuge, gathering after work to smoke cigars and sip bourbon at our house or theirs. Since the affair, I've lost all my friendships. Steve and Marcia divorced 8 months after the discovery, but Marcia and her 3 kids still live down the street. The women I once called friends, Karen, Linda, Susan, cut me off, blaming me for destroying a family. My home feels like a prison, its walls closing in. I rarely venture outside, spending my days inside or tending to my backyard gardens, where roses and tulips offer solace. The boys are often out, their lives untouched by the scandal, playing with friends or practicing sports. Jim follows a rigid routine: work, gym, home, avoiding the dinners I cook with care. On weekends, he grills steaks or burgers, eating only what he prepares, leaving my dishes untouched. Weekday dinners with the boys at 4 have become my lifeline. We set the table together, prepare simple meals, spaghetti, tacos, or roasted chicken, and clean up as a team. These moments have deepened our bond, teaching the boys responsibility and giving me purpose. Our garden, now a vibrant oasis with a small vegetable patch, is another shared triumph, the boys beaming as they harvest carrots and tomatoes. Despite these bright spots, my marriage is a source of anguish. I'm torn between fighting for it and letting Jim go, honoring the postnuptials financial terms. Deep down, I know he's unhappy, seeing me only as a co-parent, not a wife or lover. I love him fiercely and will carry the guilt of my actions forever. I yearn to reclaim the passionate, trusting relationship we once had, but his walls seem impenetrable. I need advice on whether to continue in this limbo or set him free, and how to earn back his love and trust after such a brazen betrayal. Last month, I followed advice to give our marriage breathing room and moved into a furnished apartment nearby. I missed Jim, the boys, and my gardens, but escaping the neighborhood's toxic memories I created, is a relief. When I told Jim, he was surprised and visibly saddened, asking detailed questions about my plans. His reaction, the concern in his eyes, showed he still cares, rekindling my hope. I pick up the boys after school, and they come to my apartment for dinner, pizza nights or homemade lasagna, and sleep over a few nights a week. Jim and I are flexible, letting the boys move freely between our homes. The challenge is that I rarely see Jim now, so I call him multiple times a week, asking trivial questions about school schedules or car maintenance to stay connected. We've had several long conversations recently, discussing the boys, our past, and even small glimpses of our future. These talks are a lifeline, a sign he still loves me, just as I love him. That's all for now. Thanks for listening. Life is an unpredictable journey, full of highs and lows. 2 years into our second marriage, Jim decided divorce is the best path forward. He says he still loves me and might be open to rekindling a romance someday, but feels disrespected and betrayed while we're married. He believes divorce will free him to heal, letting go of the pain I caused. He proposed celebrating our divorce once it's final, perhaps spending a night together, a strange but hopeful gesture. Despite the guilt, I agreed, desperate to keep him in my life as a partner, lover, and friend. Jim was clear. Even if we reconnect, we won't remarry. He believes true love doesn't need a contract, a view I share, though I wish we could avoid divorce. I've chosen to let him keep 3/4 of our marital assets, despite not meeting the postnuptials 30-month requirement, and I'll forgo alimony and child support. Some may call me foolish, but Jim earned that money, and I believe he'd have given it all to me if I'd remained faithful. I'm at peace with this choice, financially secure for 8 years without working, though I'm currently employed as a part-time office administrator, which bolsters my stability. To women grappling with temptation, resist with all your strength. The thrill is fleeting, not worth the risk. Seek professional help if you waver. From my experience, the short-term high is a hollow trade for the enduring loss of love, respect, and trust. Underscore. Underscore 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 underscore.
Thank you for listening. Please share your thoughts, like this video if you found it helpful, and subscribe for more.